Peerless are the histories of calcified empires. If you listen closely, when an empire is beginning to unravel, it will stammer out assurances behind the curtain of itself as the moths burst out. It will stare with many eyes of listless opacity through moth-eaten holes, sitting in its many foul smells, dusted with the taupe powder of small wings that have since feasted and now departed. It is also important to watch hands that have neither known a callus nor a flower at dusk. Often their wealth is insular. You can see in how they exact their knives upon the world, with only a swirl of pen upon paper, so that more paper might be exacted. In chess, an old insult to your opponent is to call them a potser or a wood pusher. Perhaps it is the same in the houses of power, that have forgotten the softness of trees and crave only their deduced fictions. Peerless are the cleverness of roaches, once the lights have been struck in the houses of power, burgeoning with those who came only for crumbs, came only for paper, as the world churned in the stomach to watch. But when the lights are struck in the hearts of the people, the crumb runners will only be in the houses of paper. They will only know the bankruptcy of their own essence, as all that they treasure and strive for becomes ash in both mouth and mirror. Their authority will bleach out in the sunlight of rising awareness, until what was once sought as power will be seen as the forces of insecurity projected by the disempowered. It will pale in comparison to the emergence of kindness within the growing territory of each other's care and agency, within the look on our faces in the streets, back straight, feet filled with a fortuitous direction. Amy Uyematsu has written that tyrants fear poets, and I think I understand. A tyrant will issue a fortune to shellac the shine of their veneer and purchase a widely held opinion on layaway. But a poet, with only a few free words, can sully that which would never glimmer on its own and bring to lay bare an excavation for clarity from the inside out. This is how ideas are known to be so, without HR departments and debate, but throughout the metronomes and nodding resonance from folks that know, whose spaciousness the idea occupies, and who cannot shrink themselves in retraction of what they know to be true. And you know, it's a perfect day in Chicago. The roof is pouring onto paintings made from itself. But now, fearless are the hearts of my sisters and kinfolk on this horizon. I shift my palms together into my lungs, affirm that I am breathing beside them and seeing what is. We gaze upon a thing that gazes back, with brazen teeth and blood for comfort, discovered in an inebriated celebration of itself. We gaze upon a thing that kicks in the atrophy of empire and laughs with a crack of terror at the notion of empathy in the houses of paper. But as all things sway in the vastness of the great turning, old systems of oligarchy will split their fuselages to the undergrowth of synarchies below. First the governments, then the corporations. Things will begin to shift. Pulleys will snap. This is the nature of ideas taking root before having been distilled into lived experience, which must also and always remain agile, in service of tenderness before ideology, and a tenderness which sits idly and performatively without being lived alongside others as only spiritual materialism. Because true tenderness in action is like an ancient chalice without end. Just as each womb bears love's capacity for creation, from generation to generation, the codex of love is our blood, is older than language or the record of time, and when led by the protection of love's capacity to know itself, We are Mona Lisa's brow, which at long last begins to furl. Know this, however much the engines of patriots will rev and spit with faltering provocations and fumes of insecurity, not even thunder can stifle a silent remembrance of the lineages of the earth to render the law of love as the providence of our belonging. And if you hold my hand, I will hold your hand. If you hold my gaze, I will hold your gaze. And if the mud becomes neck deep, hold firm to the ancestors. We are all woven in this way to the same sheltering tree that has never known a border and may someday know itself again, to the roots that do not shift or shrivel in the precipices of empires having come and gone. Our roots were made by love. They are indestructible. And the ancestors have never forgotten the sound of our voices, even if in the numbness of adaptation we've forgotten our own. As aspects of our world are deconstructed, what will always remain is that which is nameless between us, not as an emotion, but a resonance. And this is my place, to speak clearly to the shifting of things, as many arrive to lay rest to that which expires, and to offer breadth, space, courage to the timely arrival of balance, embroidered with the feeling of home, a place sung from our very being into being. Peerless are the hands of my kinfolk that do not tremble with the tide. We are the water that is rising. Our solidarity is a healing salve on land that has been mourning for some time already and is ready to alchemize us down into something solid and far from airy. Together we are the current that can shuffle the carcass of empire held captive with an iron lung of shame and pretense. So without a moment to spare, let empire meet the warmth of sun. Let it feel the weightlessness of a last dispersing breath among a tenderness that is fierce, dilated, and ready to push. Push with a persistence that is strapped in for the long haul and distilled with an unwavering devotion to witness the death battles of patriarchy, supremacies, and the isms of separation consciousness. To tread a green meandering path which yields unflinchingly and only to the path of kindness, a venture that does not seek its own magnitude or glory. It generates in ways unknown, unexpected, interdependent, in the mycorrhiza and in the night, gentle as dandelions and fissures of concrete. You will see